appreciate that very much. I hope the mayor didn't twist too many arms to get you all here. But it's okay, we like to have you here. I'm Deb Weston. I'm the president now here of the Historical Society. So I personally want to thank you here. We're going to have Carol Grace is going to do the prayer and the pledge. And then I have just a couple more of little things to give out or to let you know, and then we'll go on with the mayor. Carol?
Yeah, would y'all stand? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the wonderful things that you do. You brought us sunshine today. We've had warmth this week. You got us here safely. Be with those who couldn't be here today, whether they were ill or traveling or special needs. Be with our mayor today as he shares with us things that have been going on around town this year. Help us to be good ambassadors for our city, our county, our state, and our nation. In his name we pray. Amen. The flag is over in the corner.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Carol. So I'm only going to take up a few more minutes of your time before the mayor gives a speech. 2024 is the 100th birthday anniversary of Madison County Historical Society.
140.
What did I say?
100.
Oh, it's 140, sorry. I wasn't here when it came out, believe it or not. But at any rate, it's 140th anniversary of our birthday in December actually, but we're celebrating. Starting with next month, Steve Jackson will be doing a program on First Sunday, which will be March the 3rd. March the 3rd. And it's called The Building of a Dream, and is about the Madison County Historical Society. So that's the first Sunday, March 3rd. On March 18, Gerald Jones will be doing a Civil War Roundtable program about Gettysburg. And on March 24, Nancy Sumner from the Elwood Historical Society will be doing a history of the Elwood Historical Society. So should be interesting. We do have a lot of great meetings planned this year, and we'll let you know them as they're coming up. As y'all know, Mayor Broderick is here to do the City of the State update, and so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out. It was at least a nice sunny day here. A little chilly, but that's okay. It could be snow, right? I do want to say thank you to the Historical Society for once again opening your doors to allow us to come here and spend just a little bit of time. I promise I'll have you all out here by about 7 or so. Won't be too bad. No, they've always been so kind to open their doors and let us to come in and do this. And I know a lot of the folks that come have special interest of sort of keeping up on what's going on in the community. So it's always been a nice venue to do this. So I'd like to thank you all for being here and doing that. I want to thank Deb for all her work and reaching out and helping to get this orchestrated with our calendars and so forth. And Melody in the past has done the same thing, always done a great job. And of course, I always want to say thank you to our historian, Steve Jackson, for all the great work that he does here in our community and presents the history of Madison County in a way that really is sort of hard to get away from it. It's always sort of fun when I'm flipping through TV. If I don't see myself on Anderson TV, which is good if I don't, but if I see Steve on there, I oftentimes will stop and listen to what he has to say, and it's not within about a sentence or two that he always catches my attention, and I can't help but sit there and listen to the history of where it has to do with some one of our, Van Buren Township or somewhere, way up to the north or something far down to the south. It's always very interesting. And Steve, thank you for helping keep all that alive for us over the years. We much appreciate that. As you know, Anderson TV is here today also. I want to thank also Chuck Green and Nick Harder, who always come out and film this for us. We run our public access television station downtown in City Hall at the basement of City Hall, and these guys do a great job also trying to capture some history as it goes on and takes place here in the community. You can catch that if you want. If you haven't cut the cable yet, you can catch it on Comcast on channel 18 or on Anderson or AT&T TV channel 99, and also we also have it on YouTube channel City of Anderson, and you can catch that as well as other things that they produce. Kendall Bastide is here today from American Newspaper. I always like to say thanks to Ken for coming. This is not his normal work day, even though he works pretty much 24/7, but he always does a good job keeping folks tuned to what's going on here in Madison County, and I appreciate him coming out here today. And I'd also like to thank some of our department heads, employees are here, and also would like to thank just basically everybody who works in our city government who does such a good job every day in, day out, making sure that our community is a good place to live. They're great folks, great workers. Our city government is composed of about 21 departments, depending on how you count it. Sometimes people say, what are they? So I wrote them down. So very quickly, our fire, police departments, personnel, insurance, risk management, our controller's office, IT operations, human relations, civil rights, economic development, municipal development, which includes zoning, planning, building and code enforcement, our Anderson Municipal Airport, community development, engineering department, signal department, sanitary sewer and utility office, maintenance, CATS, our park department, street department, light department, water department, wastewater department, legal department, board of works, of course the mayor's office, and as I noted, we also have Anderson TV here too. So we have about 700 employees, give or take, depending on the time of year that it is and the season that it might be. As you know, Anderson's the 16th largest community in the state of Indiana. We have just right shy under 55,000 residents currently according to the census, and another 7,500 to 10,000 folks that live nearby area that either consider themselves part of Anderson or utilize our services, utilities, roads, infrastructure, and so forth on a daily basis. So with all that said, it is simply to point out that it's a large operation, but again, it couldn't be done effectively without the work of so many folks that work for the city that do a great job day in, day out. So where are we today? Where are we have been in 2023, and where are we planning to head as we move into the future? Well, I have to go back and remember again that we came out of some pretty tough times over the last 4 years, 2 years of which at least were certainly affected very directly by the COVID pandemic. And despite coming out of what was really some extraordinarily challenging times post-pandemic, I'm pleased to report that the city of Anderson has stood up and met the challenges that we had in front of us, and we've worked hard, and through the commitment of many and the character of our community and the citizens, we are standing strong, and today we are in a great place as we continue to move our city forward. Despite the short and long-term effects of the pandemic, which included inflation, which we still are seeing parts of today, not so much the higher prices continuing, but where prices, when they did drop and inflation started lower, prices stayed somewhat constant, which has created some issues. We've also had major supply chain delays, employee shortages, and some national and international turmoil. Of course, the city nonetheless continues to do well economically, and we continue to attract and grow business and jobs and enhance our quality of life for our community. Because we have placed ourselves in a strong financial position leading up years prior to that, we were able to weather the storm of the pandemic without any layoffs or any cuts of services and without any cuts of benefits. Not every community was so fortunate to be able to say that. I am particularly proud of the fiscal management that we've been able to put forth in our city, and I always like to give a lot of credit to our controller, Doug Whittam, who's worked hard in helping to make this occur. As I've reported to you over the last 8 years, we continue to have a strong and viable city government operating balance. This allows us to operate day in, day out without running into the red. It's in effect the money that you have in the bank when you're getting ready to write the check for some bill, hoping that you've got enough money to cover the cost. When I first took office, now a little over 8 years ago, we had an operating balance of about $3.5 million. That only represented about 10% of our general fund at that time, which was totally woefully underfunded. It caused us from time to time to slip into the red, and from time to time it would keep us upside down. It's against the law in the state of Indiana, of course, to run a deficit budget, and it's against the law not to have a balanced budget. And I'm proud to say that since we've been in office, we've been able to have a balanced budget each year for the last 8 years. But more importantly than that, we've been able to build upon that operating balance by using fiscally conservative methods, which allow us to be able to build up and increase the operating balance to make sure that we don't go into the red into the future. At the end of December 31, 2023, we had built the operating balance up to $21,814,000. That is about 50% of our actual budget, which is, from a best practice standpoint, about the place you want to be with a budget to make sure that you have plenty of money year in, year out as you operate. In addition to that, last year in 2023, I requested the council, and they approved, that we set aside $5.8, almost $5.9 million into a rainy day fund. We'd had a fund established years ago, but it really was never funded, and it was virtually empty. And it stood like that for years. And we kept our eye on the idea that if we ever get to the place where we build our operating balance up enough sufficiently that we can remove some money from that and put it into the rainy day fund in order to protect it for future years, that's what we should do. So last year, under the law, which allowed us at that time to take a percentage of our operating balance from that and put it in a rainy day fund, we took advantage of that and put the maximum in there, which again was at almost $5.9 million. Today, because of the earning of additional interest, we have about $6 million in that account, and we expect that we'll probably be putting some more in there as we get closer to the end of the year, which will again secure that for future generations, just in case we have downturns that are unexpected, we have something like a pandemic, which we hope we never see again, it would happen, or if we have some extraordinary special projects that we want to be able to tackle that we wouldn't have the money for, it would put us in a position to be able to do that, not just now, but many, many years into the future. We've been able to do this and be able to build up that operating balance even while we've been able to hold down our budget in general. As I said, currently our budget is about $39.2 million. It's increased about, on the average, about 2.5% a year over the years that I've been in office. Sometimes 1.5%. Last year, officially it shows about 1.5%, but it's actually a little more because we were able to bring in some public safety dollars that we hadn't had before, and we were able to move that around within the general fund, which saved the general fund some money, but it still increased the overall operation expenses. So we still end up with about 2.5% on an annual basis over that period of the 18 years. So we've kept the budget pretty flat. At the same time, we've been able to bring in some extra money that's been able to make our operating situation much more stable. Of course, our city budget only covers a fraction of the total operations that we do here in the city. In addition to that $39.2 million civil budget, which is made up primarily out of property taxes, local income tax, and then some lesser funds, but we also own our own utilities. As you know, we own our own water, wastewater, sewer, light, and power utilities. And when you take into account the dollars that it takes to run those operations, we end up and add together the civil monies I've talked about a moment ago, you end up with an actual total budget on an annual basis of about $230 million. Clearly, it's a large operation. Let's talk a little bit about what we've been doing in 2023 and as we move forward here into 2024. As you know, the City of Anderson received ARPA funds a couple years or so ago now. We received a little over $23 million from the federal government. At that time, we put together an action plan that I presented to the council. It was subsequently approved, and we put aside certain sums of money for different areas. We put money in small business assistance, aid to nonprofit organizations, homeowner assistance, affordable housing, homeless initiatives, and also for safe drinking water. Is to report to you where we're at on all that. On the small business round, which we had $2.2 million set aside, that particular area, the small business assistance, as well as let's see, we got one other one. Which one was it? The homeowner assistance. Both of those we ended up dividing into 2 rounds. We did that because the number of folks that applied for it in round 1 really wasn't sufficient to be able to utilize all the funds. We still thought there were probably some needs out there, and we were concerned that folks didn't understand what they needed to do to make the application. So we reopened the application process to allow for a round 2 because there was still money available in those particular rounds. So on the small business assistance of the $2.2 million, round one is completed, and $1 million was obligated and awarded out of those funds. Round two application was open, and people did make applications for that. There were 81 applicants with $3 million requested for a remaining balance of $1.2 million. So right at this time, those applications are under review by the committees that were set up pursuant to the plan and the ordinance, and they should be making some decisions on those in the near future. In addition to that, the aid to the nonprofit organizations, again, was $2.2 million set aside. Almost all of that was awarded and obligated, $1.9 million, and there's approximately $300,000 that's outstanding, which are actually pending for approval process, and some finalization of some contracts. Anybody who receives an award is required to come in and sign a contract and agree to utilize the funds in the method that they say that they're going to, pursuant to the federal guidelines that we receive the money under. So those monies are just about exhausted and almost completed there. On the homeowner assistance, there was a little over $2.2 million appropriated, of which $347,000 was obligated during the first round. There weren't that many folks that applied, and like I said, we realized that folks didn't understand what to do, so we made it more apparent and made it available for a second round, which was open, and at that time we definitely received some attention. We ended up with 148 applications asking for $6.2 million out of the $1.2 million. Again, that process is also under review at this time by the folks on the committees. With respect to affordable housing, that was $2.2 million, a little over that. 100% of that money has been awarded and obligated, pending a couple of contracts that have to be signed and finalized, but that's all been accounted for. We also had $900,000 set aside for homeless initiatives. Only one application was filed with respect to that, and that was from the folks at the Christian Center. And at this time, the Community Development Department, the committees, and the Christian Center are working together to try to formalize some agreement with respect to their application. So that's what's happening there. And then finally, on safe and plentiful drinking water, it was important to me that we have a large sum set aside because we definitely have a major water need, which I'm going to talk about some detail here in a moment. So we set aside $9 million earmarked for that particular focus. We did that because it's solely focused on making available sufficient safe drinking quality water for our community. It's absolutely imperative that we have these improvements in order to grow our community and to attract business and to assure safe drinking water for all of our community for generations to come. And it's really not an option. I presented to the City Council a year or so ago a request for them to make a resolution that would allow us to proceed to the Regulatory Commission in order to seek a rate increase to be able to bond in order to have enough money to make the infrastructure changes that we needed to make in our water system. That was defeated, and so in the meantime, we've continued to operate with what we have, but we simply cannot continue to operate like this any further. And so I'll be presenting back to the council. As you know, we've had an election, we have a new makeup of the council now. I'll be presenting back to the council our proposal here most likely in the next month in order to try to get that ball rolling again with an eye towards trying to get the necessary funding that we need to be able to ensure that we have safe, clean, safe drinking water. As I may have pointed out in the past, since 2016, we've been working on a plan for our water, knowing that we did have some water needs. In fact, we've spent $23.6 million since 2016 to the current time on that. We had two very old and aging water treatment plants, one out of Lafayette Wellfield, which is out in Lafayette Township, and the other downtown here at the Wheeler plant across the street from the old Comcast building. That's a very old plant too, about 75 years old. All of our drinking water comes from these two plants, and the water comes from 17 wells in our city. 8 of those wells are over 50 years old. We did build a new treatment plant out in Lafayette to replace the one that was there back in 2019. That plant we built has a 10 million gallon per day capacity, but we built it intentionally to be expandable up to 14 million gallons. Well, it needs expanded. The Wheeler plant, as I said, is 75 years old and it needs replaced. Many of the aging wells have lost their capacity. As they get older and older, you can go in and try to re-drill them, but at some point, their ability to produce more water or a capacity that they originally had is lost. So these all need to be, not all, but most of them need to be replaced. We also need to find a water source on the south side of our community. Right now, all of our water sources either come from far up north or here in the mid part of the city, out off the Broadway corridor. But of course, then we have to push that water all the way from there, all the way out to the south side of Anderson to take care of all the South Anderson folks' needs, as well as all the businesses that are located out there. So it makes common sense if you could have a well field out there with a smaller plant to be able to direct your water there. You'd have less distance for it to travel, less likely of leakage, plus you could have more capacity than you have like with the wells that we currently have here. In addition to those issues, we have aging infrastructure underground, which is particularly our water mains. You have two different types of mains that run through the ground. One is that go from the well fields to the plant, which distribute the water to the plant, and then the mains that come from the plant that go out into the community and go up into the tanks, and then eventually come into your homes. Of course, once the water goes through all that process and gets into your homes, it's metered. And of course, you receive a bill monthly on that. We have 23,000 meters in our city right now, and we have a program in place where we are constantly trying to replace meters because of their age. We try to replace about 10% of the meters a year is our goal. Sometimes we meet that goal, sometimes we don't, depending upon weather and money's available and so forth. We have purchased new meters that we're going to be replacing the old meters with. There'll be a period of time when we phase this in that we'll have some of the older meters in place and some of the newer meters in place. We'll have two different tracking systems for that. There's no other way to really do it though because of the cost factor plus the wear out in such a way that having a replacement schedule every 10 years makes sense. We put in 10% new ones this year and then 10% next year and so forth. Over a period of time, you'll have a rolling stock basically that you'll continue to roll in and roll out over the years. We are going to continue with our plans to replace these meters, which will be like about a 10-year plan though to get rid of all of them. Come back a little bit again to why it's important for these water improvements. Right now, we use about 10-minute average, it changes obviously average day to day, but basically we use about 10 million gallons of water a day. We do have an average, some days we have obviously used some more. We have peaks of anywhere between 11.5 and 12 million gallons a day. The problem is our current capacity. Basically, we have a maximum of about 12.5 million gallons available at any one given time, theoretically. And if we happen to be at one of those peak moments where we're using a lot of extra water, and we're at the 12 million, that means we only have 500,000 gallons left. It sounds like a lot, but it's not when you consider we use 10 million a day, day in, day out. And when you only have 500,000 gallons left, that puts you in a tough spot if you have a major catastrophe of some sort, if you have a major fire or a major main break, which because again of our aging structure, we do have main breaks throughout the year, different times. If you have all that going on at one time, you could find yourself in a spot where you wouldn't have the water that you need when you need it. So in order to make sure that we can continue to bring in industry, that we can continue to have the water needs that we have for new residences that we hope to attract, and also to make sure that day in, day out, as you turn on your home faucets, that water is there, we need to act, and we need to act now. As I noted, I previously presented a plan to the council. I'll be presenting something similar to that to the new council. However, we have made some changes because again, we need to move now. And that process that I'm talking about with the council takes about 18 months to 2 months to complete from the start of the time that we present to them, to the time we go through the regulatory commission, to the time that you actually would be in a position to be able to bring on any type of financial increase in your rates. About 2 years has passed. So we don't really have that much time to spare. And so previously, as I said, I put aside $9 million from the ARPA funds. We had also gotten a pledge, we talked to the redevelopment commission about some additional funds to help supplement that. I've been in meetings with my water superintendent, and we've come up with a plan to expend about $22 to $23 million that will be able to be done without any type of rate increase we'll be able to use both TIF dollars as well as the ARPA funds, but it will require a commitment from the redevelopment commission for up to $15 million in TIF funds, plus $9 million from the ARPA funds, which will allow us to do what we need to do, at least on the front end. That would include the expansion of the current water plant from the 10 million gallons that it does per day to 14 million gallons. We have located, since we began this process, we've been able to identify 2 different well fields that we've been able to drill in and work on, and through the redevelopment commission, we're able to have some funds available to do some of that. But we still need to be able to get the water out of the ground and actually get it to the plant to treat it. And then we also have to have the capacity in the plant to treat that extra water. And then of course we have to have the good infrastructure underneath the ground between the plant and the center part of the city to actually pump it there successfully and get it there. So all of those infrastructures need to be upgraded, and that $23+ million would take care of doing that. At the same time, we would appear before the council to request the request to be able to have additional funds available in order for both operational costs that are substantial with the water department, as well as additional infrastructure that needs to be done, because this process, these infrastructural problems I'm talking about, if you could put a present day price tag on it and then magically snap your fingers and get things fixed, it'd be around $250 million. Well, obviously we don't have that kind of money. Even if we did, you couldn't go in and fix all that at one time. And so it's something that's going to have to happen over a period of years, but you're not going to be able to do it if you keep your rates the same as they are and if they have been for the last several years. We've only had 2 water increases in the last 25 years. The last one coming into effect at the end of 2015, going into effect in 2016. And that's just not enough to be able, when you have costs that continue to rise, inflation that we talked about a minute ago that continues to go up, you can't operate on the same amount of income, because our utilities, all of our utilities, operate solely off of rates. They don't receive any other property tax monies or anything like that. So everything is 100% rate driven. I would conclude in saying that with respect to the ARPA funds, which includes that $9 million, I expect that most of the monies that we receive will be obligated by the deadline, which happens to be December 31st of this year, 2024. Under the law, it has to be spent out at a date later than that, but they have to be obligated prior to that time. And I don't believe that there'll be any funds left remaining after we get through the balance of the process that I described a few minutes ago. What's going on the rest of the economic development fronts? In 2013 up to the current time, we've continued to see and continue to have new business development expansion coming to our community. We have everything from smaller mom and pop businesses to much larger businesses. We started off the year 2023 with the Circle City Curling Club coming out to the south side of town. I'm looking at ones that we actually showed up and did ribbon cuttings at and were at the events. There were others that weren't, that some folks just come into town and set up and they go, and others want to have a lot of fanfare, so we always want to make sure we're there to help support them. But we also had the Wild Moon Child Boutique, the new flagship business incubator, which is, if you probably don't know, if you don't know, the flagship is an enterprise created between the city of Anderson and Anderson University about 25 years ago. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, we put in place a situation where we changed the makeup of the board. It used to be lean majority of Anderson University folks and then the minority of Anderson City folks. I felt like it needed to be flip-flopped. We went ahead and changed that, and now the city of Anderson has the majority appointments on that board, and the Anderson University has a minority appointment on the board, but at the same time, they own a piece of property associated with the flagship building that they were trying to get rid of for financial reasons. I was afraid that it was going to get out of the hands of the folks that could use it the most, which is our economic development people. And so we agreed to go ahead and assist with the purchase of that property on behalf of Flagship. And so we were able to get funds through the redevelopment commission to make that purchase, and we were able to save that facility out there that we all know as Flagship, which is a great facility. I was just out there a couple nights ago for a pitch night they had with 6 new businesses here in town pitching some ideas that they had. So it's a great thing that we've saved it, but they have also opened up since that time a new incubator, co-working space, a test kitchen, and a podcast studio. And so it was nice to see all that going on out there. They're doing a great job. We also announced, of course, the new Needlers and Ace Hardware store. That particular transaction officially closed at the end of January of this year as far as the actual title change. And our last conversation with them was about a week ago. They're getting their contractors back in to begin whatever process they have to do to build those two different properties out. We also welcomed Kinnaman Studio Salon Professionals. We also have brought in the new Jeff Air Pilot Services, which is out at the Anderson Airport, which is a cool new business out there. Thai Divine Restaurant out on Scatterfield. It's going to be one of my favorite new places to go eat. The Hole in the Wall down here, right next to the BYOB. We also had, the last year and a half or so, a couple different pop-up bars, thanks to Darla and Gary Sally. The most recent one being the Tiki Speakeasy downtown. That was called Wrecked. That was part of one of the things going on downtown during the holidays. We also broke ground for Carpenter Realties last June, and then we celebrated their grand opening with the new construction being completed at the end of the year. We did that open house in January 12th yet of this year. We also had downtown new business location of FC Tucker Prosperity, opened their new business. Michael's relocated down out on Scatterfield, and we have welcomed them here with a ribbon cutting as well. Digital Motion Media. Also, we had Bishop's RV, which purchased Modern Trailer Sales, which has been here for years, but they've purchased Modern Trailer Sales and they've already begun growing and expanding that particular location. Also downtown, we had Building 22, which included Ruby's Cafe and Bakery and an event center, which was began by Pam and Dave Clendenin. And that's business seems to be doing really well down at the old Newman Center down around Brown, Delaware and 8th Street. We also welcomed Little Heroes Pediatric Dentistry, also CHS Intech at the flagship. And we also had, of course, the grand opening for the Hoosier Park expansion that they finally got completed, a $46 million renovation out there. Out on Lindbergh Road, we had Energy Impact, a new business that opened up. And we also anticipate additional new businesses continue to come into the area, many of which have already filed plans with our Municipal Development Department. Those include McAllister's Deli, Jersey Mike's, and back to the downtown again. We know we have the Toast that's under renovation right now, also thanks to the efforts of Darling and Gary Sally. And we also have a new quality steakhouse expected to come downtown late this early spring that will be utilizing the main floor of the new mixed-use transit facility. We also have additional hotels that are planned for the south side of town. There are two that have already filed their plans with the Municipal Development Department and two others that are in discussions with Municipal Development right now. And we also have a new Starbucks that's coming out on the south side also. You probably saw at the end of last year, we had a couple of major groundbreakings. We had FIT on the larger economic development front. We had FIT, F-I-T-T, groundbreaking in October. They are a hose manufacturer. They are going to be located on Rabel Avenue. They're in construction now. It's about a $20 million investment. It's going to bring about 100 jobs, and it's going to have an annual payroll of about $4.4 million. We also have Cortiva Agriscience, which is a business that is it's a seed business. It's being built by Scannell Development on a 30-acre tract out on 67th Street, about a 300,000 square foot facility that'll bring 41 jobs. And then also you've probably read recently that we're in the process of bringing what's called SAICA, S-A-I-C-A PAC. It's a $100+ million investment out on Park Road. The Redevelopment Commission has earmarked $10 million for the project, which includes major infrastructure upgrades on Park Road between 53rd and 67th Streets. And then also the City Council has approved $5.3 million of bonding for the project. And this is a corrugated cardboard manufacturing company. All of these entities will continue to increase our tax base, bring more jobs, more job opportunities. We'll continue to diversify our footprint in terms of manufacturing, avoiding having put all of our eggs in the same basket. Anderson is a great community with a great history. We've proven time and time again to be very resilient and innovative and determined. We know over the period of years, everything from the gas boom going back into the 1800s, that things were going great and they fell, and later the Industrial Revolution, and then things kind of went down, and later the GM days and things went down. But Anderson always is on the rebound and seems to always come back better and stronger than ever before. And one of the things that we want to make sure of that as we continue to do that is that we intentionally diversify ourselves in a way to make sure that if we lose a sector or two of our economy as we move forward into the future, that it will not have the adverse effect that it had on our community so many years ago when General Motors and their associated businesses left the community. As far as the downtown area goes, I continue to believe that a strong downtown is the key to a strong community. While like all other downtowns across the country, there's ups and downs with our downtowns, but I believe that the downtown and what we do with it reflects the heart and soul of the community. And I'm proud of our downtown, that it continues to flourish with many activities and businesses. New businesses continue to open, and those that have been around for a while or recently opened continue to thrive. Our downtown Dickman Park, right not too far from where we're staying right now, continues to be a hub for weekend activity and entertainment for all throughout the community. The Paramount Theater, which sits not too far from us as well, brings exceptional entertainment and acts as a first-class event space for folks. I was just there last night for another event, fundraiser for the Paramount. About 250 folks showed up, and it was a great event, and a lot of people had indicated that they had never been there before, which was surprising but interesting, but was glad to see new folks be there. We continue to grow and improve our cultural presence. The Anderson Symphony Orchestra, ASO, continues to provide great annual performances, and oftentimes over at the Paramount, sometimes at Anderson University, both great classical and sometimes pop classics. We have the Young Anderson Young Ballet Theater in the old train station. It continues to be a major part of our downtown with their beautiful facility. And in fact, they'll be performing very soon. You might want to check them out on March 2nd and 3rd at the Reardon Auditorium. They're going to be performing 12 Dancing Princesses. So I know that that's something that they're excited about doing, and you might want to check out that event. The tickets are still available, I understand. Also, we have the Anderson Museum of Art, the Grunwald House, the Anderson Madison County Historical Center, where we are today. Well, I'll put in a plug for you too. Getting ready to host the night of the Titanic on April 14th.
All right.
So it looks like that's going to be very interesting. I think there's some tickets available still.
We'll make tickets.
They'll make tickets available for a price.
Yes.
And then later this year, in May, they always are kind to host in May, part of the Little 500s Festival, which is always a big event, the Hot Rod and Classic Car Show downtown. Of course, not too far from us also, we have the Anderson Main Stage Theater. A lot of great events happen there. And then we have the A-Town Center across the street from Dickman, where they have a lot of great events, a lot of local artists that hang out and do things, and a lot of programs that we have throughout the year. And if you haven't checked it out, I invite you to check out the new Anderson Artist Alley, which is located between the Paramount and the Union Building. That was constructed as a result of both a grant and assistance from my board, but also with a lot of hard work put in from the folks with the A-Town Center. So it's pretty cool if you haven't checked it out. Throughout this last year and up to the present time, the downtown area has been filled with a lot of events and entertainment. The city's summer concert series that we expanded previously continues to attract several hundreds of folks about every other week downtown. We also, of course, have the special events that go on downtown, like the Anderson on Tap, the Jeeps on Meridian, the newly brought back Anderson Gaslight Festival, which was a huge hit last year. If you didn't go, my understanding is they're going to bring it back again this year. You will definitely want to check it out. It was amazing how well they did. It would have been so many years since it had been here. It was a great job. You of course have our annual Independence Day celebration and parade, our Anderson Police Department trunk or treat downtown. We also have a trunk or treat event out at the Geeter Center. Within a day or two of that, we have our annual Christmas parade, Christmas festivities, with Santa, reindeer, and princesses, and all the others, right? And along with our free ice skating and hot chocolate, it's really a lot of things that we have put together intentionally in order to create and build memories for our kids. That way they can look back in years to come and remember fond things that they did in their community. But I believe that all of that showcases the vitality of Anderson and why it continues to be a great place that we all love to call home. In addition to all that, we also have other quality of life and quality of place initiatives. Of course, quality of life, quality of place means different things to different folks, but I don't think anyone would disagree that there's nowhere more apparent that you want to have good quality of life amenities is through your parks department. And since taking office, I've renovated about 25 major parks with the assistance of our both our Board of Works, our Board of Park Department Board. These guys do a great job working together to make sure that we have all the amenities that we need. We do projects every year. For years, the parks were neglected. Parks got down when they had the tax caps come in place in 2008, as they were looking for places to cut, and they cut just about everywhere. But one of the places they definitely cut heavily was parks, and it got down to the point that there was less than $800,000 in the park budget, and it's just not even close to sufficient. And I'm proud to say that today we have the park budget back up over probably any other time period that's ever existed in the history of the city. Right now, it's about $3.6 million annual budget, and that doesn't include the extra money that we put into the parks through the Board of Works, which we typically supplement anywhere between $200,000 to $400,000 a year in additional funds through the Board of Works budget as well. Last year, we installed new playground equipment at Shadyside Park out by the lake. We also installed brand new equipment out at Jackson Park and also at Warren Miller Park. We also launched some new kayaks and paddle boats over by the lake, and we reopened our Southside pool, making it once again free for folks to use, which was obviously well received. We also closed on the acquisition of the former Anderson Trustee Building that I had worked out through with Mike Shively, Anderson Township Trustee, a year or so earlier, and we were able to work out that deal, and we actually got possession of that building in January of this year. The purpose of that building will be used for programs for children and also for seniors. For children, it'll be after school and summer programming. There'll be tutoring, STEM and STEAM programs, offerings, as well as obviously uses for recreation. As I said, we took possession of that in January, and we're working right now with partners that will allow us to run effectively community center with some of the attributes that I mentioned a second ago. We anticipate all this being up and running by this spring. Last year, I had additional funds placed in the park budget in anticipation of that new facility, which helped bring that budget up to the level that I was talking about a minute ago. And again, it's higher than it has been really for the last 20 years. Additionally, this year we'll be installing new playground equipment elsewhere also. That's going to be at the Geter Center and also at the Shadyside Park, at the main park. So that's where the shelter is and the restrooms and so forth in the main park. That equipment is starting to show its wear and tear over time, so we'll be fixing that as well. As in the past, we've received a grant to assist us with those park improvements. We will be able to receive about a 40% reduction off the cost of those. That will be paid for both through community block grant funds, through our community development department, and then also through our Board of Works. The community block grant funds is federal dollars that we have that comes in that can be used for different purposes, including the physical facilities and structures within a low mod income area. So we're able to take advantage of that for that purpose there. We are going to continue on with our summer programming as we have in the past. That will be both at the Geter Center and at Zion Baptist Church, and now we will also be adding in this community center facility. We did start last year a new football league, which did well, and we're going to be bringing that back again this year. We're doing that in conjunction with Anderson High School, the coaching staff there, as well as the kids on the varsity team have played an instrumental role in helping us be good mentors for these young kids that are interested in having a local football league here in our community. We will continue to operate, of course, our splash pad out at Mays Park. It was a big hit since it's open. It'll be reopening again in May, along with our pool. The park department will also be running all summer long and into the fall numerous programs that are too many to even talk about, but you do need to check the Facebook page, both in the park department and also our city web page, as well as our Facebook page, for information as those programs move forward. We did complete all the major renovations at Grandview Golf Course last year. We did also take possession of new golf carts that have been out being used for the season. We will begin repaving the cart trails later this year. We may or may not have enough money to do that all this year. May have to be phased in over a couple of years, but we want that done because those paths have gotten in really bad shape, and I don't want to beat up all the brand new golf carts that we just purchased. We're also continuing to work on making our major makeover at Athletic Park. I I met with engineers just last week to go over plans because of cost increases and the need for additional Department of Natural Resource permitting, which we've already received some permitting, but they're telling me we need some more. We will be completing the design work during the year with possible grade and water relocations performed this fall. Most likely construction, the major construction, will occur in 2025 with a projected opening date near Memorial Day of next year. The plan will, or 2025. The plan will include, as I discussed earlier, amphitheater, also large gathering space for up to 2,500 plus people, restrooms, water slides, lazy river, climbing features, playground equipment, walkways, and shelters, and we're looking forward to that. We've also been engaged in a partnership with Anderson University. They are seeking a Lilly grant. They received a planning grant of $250,000 from Lilly to be able to plan out some projects in association with the city and other partners. And they are right now in the process of seeking, in fact, their applications due March 1st, and they are seeking $25 million from Lilly. It'll require a matching of 70%, and the only way to match that will be in some form of in-kind matches. And so we are going to work with them. And what we're trying to do is to have a connection between the Anderson University and the city of Anderson in such a way as that kids can feel more free about flowing in and out from the campus area into our community, and that likewise folks in our community can likewise integrate with the folks at AU. AU has been a really good partner to work with for us over the last several years. I mentioned Flagship a minute ago. We've worked really well hand in hand on that project, and I'm looking forward to working with them as they continue to try to get the $25 million from the Lilly grant, and we'll know more about that as time progresses. The athletic park project is a major part of their match for that possible $25 million. That's another reason it's important that we continue to proceed on that. I might also note both on the financial front, we are also involved with being a member of what's called CIRDA, CIRDA. It's the Central Indiana Regional Development Association, and it is a group of cities across the state, particularly taking up the Indianapolis, Carmel, Anderson metropolitan area. It also goes up much further north than that, goes up to Elwood and beyond. It stretches out toward the Westfield, down to Carmel. It's big. It's about a third of the population of the state. But we're in the process of applying for funds through the state. Last year, we received about $1.3 million as part of that effort that we'll be able to use for the water relocation out of Athletic Park. But right now we're trying to take part in getting a portion of what we believe will be up to $75 million from what they call Ready Point 2. The first one is Ready Point 1. But if we can help for our region get some of that money, and especially of course if our local region area here can capitalize on some of that, we want to do that. So we've been working with those folks over the last year to get those proposals out before the state. That is also due now, and it's just recently been turned in. Whenever we talk about quality of life, quality of place, we have to talk a little bit about our roads. We continue to be aggressive in the paving of our roads around our community. In 2023, I earmarked, which I think was pretty aggressive earmark, $4 million for paving, and I'm proud to report that in calendar 2023, we actually completed $4,123,870.05 in paving projects. So we definitely spent that $4 million, got a lot of paving done, and guess what? We've earmarked another $4 million again for 2024. And it's possibly that might even be bigger. Each year for the last 7.5 years, we've been able to apply for the State Community Crossing Grant, which is a competitive process where cities were able to apply for up to $1 million, but cities our size had to be in a position to be able to match that 50%. So if we received $1 million, we'd have to match it with $1 million. We were fortunate, because of some of the reasons I spoke about earlier, to be able to be in a financial position to be able to have those match dollars available. And so we were able, over a period of time, to be able to acquire $6.5 million from the state, which allowed us to do about $13 million in paving over the last 8 years, just from that fund alone. But this year, we learned the first of the year that they were going to change that formula a little bit, and they were going to allow communities our size to apply up to $1.5 million for up to $1.5 million. So I went ahead and asked my city engineer to do that, and we are turning in now an application for that. In fact, we have turned it in for that additional $1.5 million. So if that takes place, and if we were happy to get that, we would be in a position to be able to actually pay up to $5 million in 2024, not the $4 million. That would be extremely aggressive, and of course that would be dependent upon materials being available, weather, and so forth. But it's important to me to stay on top of the roads, and we've done that over the last several years, and try to do it on an annual basis to make sure that we have roads as good as we can reasonably have them, given that we live here in Indiana, where we live with some really tough, cold, freezing weather that hurts our roads day in, day out. We are also in the process right now, in somewhat early stages, but we're in the process of designing and construction phases of traffic signal modernization. We will be utilizing up to 80% of federal dollars for any of that. We have about 100 traffic signals that are involved. It's going to take a period of years to do all that. We're working on just a few at a time right now as we move forward, as we work towards getting the funding that we need to do that. But the federal government is wanting us to change our signals. We need to do it anyway. Most of our automatic light signals are have an analog system that's not digital, and most of the equipment that runs off of is hard to find. They have to cannibalize one thing for another to patch it together, and it just needs to be changed. But it's multi-millions of dollars project. And so, again, it's something we're doing, but it's something that'll take a period of time, but we are in the process of working on that now. When it comes to quality of life and place, of course, nothing more important than public safety, and we continue to be blessed with first-rate, first-class police and fire departments, and I'm committed to continuing to improve and maintain the excellence of these departments. The most important assets we have in those departments, of course, are the people who work there, the men and women who serve us and work for us every day, and they do a great job. I couldn't be any prouder of the firefighters and the police officers that we have. They do an exceptional job day in, day out. As far as APD is concerned, we've had a lot occur over the last several months. We did become accredited in October, but with the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. That was a lot of work and effort that went into that over a period of many months to get that to take place. We also continue to upgrade all of our equipment and ensure that our officers have the equipment they need to keep us safe while keeping themselves safe. We continue to equip our officers with new safe vehicles. We've replaced every vehicle that was in existence when I first came into office, and now we're in this part that we're now replacing vehicles that we replaced when we came into office, but we're keeping up on it. And when I first came in, we had lots of police vehicles that had over 100,000 miles on them, and they just weren't safe to be driving. And now, of course, we went to assigned cars. Each officer has his own car. We have 12-hour shifts now. And so when officers get done with their car, it's parked, no one else jumps in and starts running it again. It used to happen. So it saves the cars, it gives more pride in the vehicles, and it's a cost savings to us over the long haul. In addition to that, we've now installed computers in each vehicle that we have. Again, when I first started, there weren't any computers in the vehicles. Now they all have them, and they use them. They use them every day. It helps keep traffic away from dispatch. They're able to look up a lot of routine things without bothering dispatch about it, and it gives them automatic resources. Plus, it allows them to do in-car paperwork on down times when they're in between calls and so forth. All of our cameras, all of our officers now, of course, have body cams, which have been a great tool. And we've also installed two things that I'm really, really excited about. They've been very instrumental so far in helping us. And that's both through the same company called Flock. And it's a Flock license reader system that allows us to locate lost individuals. If there's a silver alert or an amber alert, you can give the identifying information or last vehicle they were seen in, and we can help track that throughout the community. It also allows us to prevent and solve crime. We've had a number of incidents where we've been able to find serious violent offenders that were wanted on warrants and nobody could seem to find out where they were at. And just by a few clicks of a computer button, we were able to locate them and be able to get those folks in custody and keep our community safer. We've also just recently taken live in the last couple of months, the flock portion of our program, which is a shot detection equipment, and that allows, if there's a shots fired situation, it allows the officers to be alerted immediately, again, through their computer sets, and we're able to arrive at a scene much quicker when there's that type of incident. Otherwise, and the old way it used to be, of course, if somebody's at home, wherever you're at, and you hear a shot, you think, I think it was a gunshot, I'm not sure, and you call it in, and by the time you go through all that rigmarole and it gets from the dispatch to the police cars, it might be 5, 6, 7 minutes before they arrive. Now they can get there in a fraction of that time. And we've already had incidents where cases that have came together much quicker simply because we had that technology already in place. We also, a couple of weeks ago, took possession of a new extraction vehicle. This vehicle came about, the Uvalde, Texas situation caused me to pause and want to make sure that our local law enforcement folks had all the tools that they needed available if they were to find themselves in a situation similar to that. I met with the chief, we went over the current status of equipment we had. We talked about things that we could use. We ended up getting more shields for officers, more helmets, more protective personal gear for themselves, but we also ordered this extraction vehicle, which will allow us to be able, if we ever had to go up into a situation where there's a hostage situation. It could be kids, it could be seniors, it could be just anybody on the street, but if there's a hostage situation, we'd be able to get up there, get close, extract a number of people at one time rather than 2 or 3 at a time. And this allows us to get 15, 20 people out of a place in no time at all. And it's heavily protected, and we'll also be able to use it in SWAT incidents from time to time as we have those. In addition to all that, last year I put in place, effective January 1st of this year, a $4,000 base increase of pay for all firefighters and all police officers. This will assist us in being able to continue to attract good officers and to retain the officers that we do have. Right now, as you know, there's a big issue across the country of shortages in both police and fire, and it's important that we be competitive to make sure that we can continue to get the best of the best for our community. This year, Anderson Police Department, as they've done in the past, will continue to host block parties. This year, I have the dates, but I'm not sure they're accurate, so I don't want to say them yet. I'll just tell you, in May, we'll have one at Walnut Park, in June at Jackson Park, July, May Park, Pulaski, August, and Harmon Park in September. On the Anderson Fire Department front, like Anderson Police Department, these guys are a very busy department, and they take the time that they need to be able to get out in the community and make sure that they outreach to us and partner with others to make sure that they can teach to all of us safety procedures to keep ourselves and our businesses safe from fire and other casualties. And we appreciate everything that they've done on that. They also work with the Anderson Police Department on many of these different outreach events that we have throughout the year. They work, of course, on a regular basis inspecting commercial and business properties to make sure that they are safe and up to code requirements under the safety laws, and they make sure that folks have availability of smoke detectors upon request, and all the events they go to, they have those available as well. In 2023, they answered and investigated 103 fire calls, both residential and commercial. And on the ambulance side, if you're ready, they had 13,329 calls. We have 3 ambulances, and these guys run 24/7. We're fortunate to have advanced life support in our ambulance service. There's basic life support, there's advanced life support, and the advanced life support requires a person to be a paramedic. Otherwise, you have to be an EMT. All of our firefighters are EMTs, but they're not all paramedics. And so we're in the process right now of having several that are willing to train to be paramedics, which is great. But we need to have more capacity for the runs that we have with these ambulances, because these guys that work this and gals are really wearing themselves out. They literally run 24/7. So I have put in place a plan, and I'm working with the chief, and we'll be working with the Board of Public Safety in order to expand the capacity that we have to be able to provide the services for our ambulance service to the community. And we need to be able to alleviate from medics the high run volume that they have, because it's easy to cause burnout. And right now there's a lot of like I said, there's a lot of competition out there to get paramedics. You've got hospitals, you've got clinics, you've got nursing homes, you've got other municipal ambulance services that are all looking for the same person. And so it's important that we make sure that our folks know that we're looking out for them when it comes to not only paying you well, but also making sure that we're not overworking you and expecting you to work beyond the call. So we're gonna work on that, and what we're trying to do is work to bring on board a 4th ambulance. We've talked about a couple of different options, but we think the best option is to try to bring a 4th ambulance on. We are going to be making application when the application time opens. It hasn't yet. We're going to be requesting from the federal government a SAFER grant, which is a grant that allows us to hire additional firefighters that they'll pay for that. And they'll do that for up to a period of 3 years, and then after that we'll have to pick up that cost. But we're looking at bringing up no less than 6 officers, and possibly another 1 or 2, but to be able to primarily focus on that paramedic side, to be able to bring on that 4th ambulance. And that should, if it works out historically as it normally does, that should be opening up later this mid-spring for that application. We continue to upgrade our equipment for the fire department, just like we do the police department. We did acquire a new ambulance at the end of last year, and we're expected to deliver a new engine, large engine, in March of this year, as well as a new one in July. So we continue to keep those guys well equipped, and also I can't tell you how well trained they are, but they train on a regular, ongoing basis. On the municipal development front, we continue to see an increase in permits for different types of buildings and new construction, remodels, additions, both residential, commercial, and industrial. In 2023, they issued 3,262 permits. Our revenue from permitting has increased from 22 to 23. In 22, we had $363,000 in fees come in, and in 22. In 23, we had $421,000 come in, so about almost $50,000 increase. New housing is continuing to be built, but we continue to have a need for low and mod income housing, also worker housing, and also executive housing. In order to grow the community, our housing stock has to increase. My goal is to have no less than 350 new residential units available in the next 4 years. We will cautiously and smartly use incentive dollars when necessary to help incentivize the build of these units, and they will include apartments, single-family dwellings, duplexes, and my goal is that they be centrally located in the city to ensure that the residents become part of the fabric of our community rather than just out sort of on the outlying areas and be more of a bedroom community. I want them to feel like they're part of our community. We of course continue to tear down blighted properties. We do about 35 to 50 per year, depending upon acquisition opportunities as well as funding. We will continue to do that. When we're able to, we put those properties back both on property rolls, and we also try to use them when we can for infill housing. We've partnered with Pathstones and Habitat for Humanity, for example, in the past, and been able to have new houses placed in some of these vacant lots, and we've had quite a bit of success on that. We had several, we did this last year, and some that are under construction right now. And it's always exciting to see that. This year, we're working with our community development department to work with these agencies in order to find more funding for these projects, and also to try to help new home buyers find homes, and also to give them the financial assistance they need in getting into these new properties. As we move into the future, we continue to work on attracting these new developments to make sure that we have good, sustainable, and affordable housing for all in our community, and work to continue to encourage to bring these housing developers in. I've personally met with 3 different developers over the last 6 months that have expressed a lot of interest, and again, we've tried to share with them what our vision is as to how those properties might look as they come into our community. We continue to be involved in many fronts as we go forward. I could speak 3 times longer than I am right now. I can just tell you that we are very engaged with the schools. We try to, even though we don't have anything directly to do with the school system, we try to make sure that we encourage and that we support them. I'm proud that this year we were able to hold another annual Mayor's Ball. We were able just recently to give out $43,000 to local teachers for many projects that they have planned. Since 2016, we've been able to deliver $336,000 in funds to those folks. And so it's always exciting to do that, and it's really always exciting to see how smart these kids are that are in our schools. We hear a lot of stories about them, but I can tell you these kids don't run rings around most of us. They're doing stuff that we probably never dreamed about doing when we were in school. So I'm very proud of what they do and how hard the teachers work on their behalf. So I want to conclude tonight, or today, this afternoon, I guess now, by letting everyone know that we continue to live in a very good place. City of Anderson is. It is a great community. And it's always, as I've said, been an innovative community, and it's really a community like no other. It's a great place to raise a family, and we're gonna continue to work hard each and every day to continue to foster that. And I'm just proud to have had the opportunity to serve for a period of time as your mayor, and I'm particularly proud to be here today to talk sort of at a high level about some of the stuff that's going on, that's been going on. So with that said, I'll be happy to answer a handful of questions if you like, and then get you out of here a reasonable hour maybe. Yes, ma'am.
You know, the round pool that's on 8th Street, is there any chance that ever can be put on the National Historical Register?
I'm sorry, where on 8th Street?
The athletic pool? Yeah, the round, yeah.
It's not gonna be, because that's part of the plan. It'll be demolished as part of the plan.
Okay.
I will tell you, there was a study done probably 10 years ago now, and it's, at that time, the estimated cost of repair of that was somewhere between $6 and $7 million. And of course, there's nothing ADA accessible about that pool. You'll remember if you ever went there as a kid, everything's climb up the steps. And of course, these days, everything has to be ADA accessible. And to make it that, the copper's been stripped out of there. I mean, it's unfortunate. But what we're planning on doing with the new development is to have a facade that sort of has the image of that pool as part of the passage as you come into the park, as sort of kind of a recognition of what was there. Yes, ma'am.
Could you share anything about the CAT system? What, I know that there are new buses on order. Just tell a little bit of update on the transportation system in Anderson.
Sure. So we have, City of Anderson has a transit system that's basically federally funded. Approximately 80% of the money that's utilized to fund the buses comes from the federal government. We do have some of the expenses are covered at a 50-50 rate, some are 80-20, but it kind of averages out. We have 9 bus routes, and we have buses that serve all those routes. At the present time, we're in the process of going through a legal process to acquire bidding, if you will, from individuals that provide buses in order that we can replace our buses. They're old, they're wearing out, they need replaced sooner or later. And so that's in the process right now. We do have the funding set aside for that. But we need to get the bidding process completed. So that part's going on. We did go through a partial bidding process previously, but the bids came in, and what's supposed to happen is we put out specifications. The bidders are supposed to follow the specifications when they place their bids. Some of the bidders that placed their bids didn't follow all the specifications correctly, and it was nearly impossible to really compare apples to apples. And we wanted to make sure that we got the best, most effective, cost-effective for our bus purchase. And so we decided to go through a process called Request for Proposals, which will allow us to hopefully get that issue resolved, and then we'll be able to make a selection. And I hope to have that done in the next 3 months. So.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm glad to hear you talk about the kids and all that. But I'm wondering, as far as youth council, I know a lot of youth in the area have talked about reestablishing the mayor's youth council with local high school students and I think that would actually help with some of the safety things as well. I didn't know if you guys had talked about that or heard any of that.
I've not had anybody approach me on it. I'd be happy to talk about it though.
Okay, I'll send students to you then.
That'd be fine. They're always the toughest customers.
Oh yeah, they are.
We're designated as a tech hub in this region for Indianapolis, Carmel, and Anderson with the Heartland Bioworks. What's our participation with that?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know.
Do we plan to engage with that?
I'm not familiar with it. You'll have to give me some information when we're done, if you would.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Can you be more specific on the, you said the city of Anderson was collaborating with AU, and I didn't quite understand how they were doing that.
Okay. So Anderson University had the opportunity, it was a Lilly grant that was formulated by Lilly, and it was offered to the various universities and colleges across the state. And so every college and university had the opportunity to make applications. So it's very competitive, but Anderson University wanted to engage in that. But what the grant calls for is they don't want the universities just to simply receive the money for themselves and use it internally for themselves only. the only way they're going to allow it to be granted is if they show that they are reaching out and being collaborative with others, particularly with the city in which they're in order to try to bridge any separations that there might be between the university and the city itself. And so paramount in even being able to think about getting that grant was the requirement that the city would be willing to work with them on that. And so I met with AU folks early on when they learned about the possibility, and I told them I'd be happy to work with them and try to help collaborate with them in whatever way reasonably we could. And so with that, they went ahead and made their application for the planning grant. They got the planning grant awarded, which is at $250,000, which is a relatively small amount considering all they have to do. But in the meantime, they put together multiple steering committees and other subcommittees, of which members of the city administration were on. I was on one of them myself. And we met multiple times at the university and other locations, and everybody basically brainstormed on the different things that they thought would be helpful to try to meet those goals in that mission. And so everybody put their heads together, and then it went back into the hands of AU then to decide what they wanted to do, because ultimately it's their grant application. And so they went ahead and they put all that together, and then they made that application. I just the other day provided a letter of support to them for that. So if that does come to pass, then they will be getting back with us, and then we'll have to put a whole lot more meat on the bones. Yes, ma'am.
Question about, is there something going on where Seasons of the Heart was located, or was that also part of that shingle factory?
That's the one right next to Menards, on 7th or 67. Not that I know of. But I could be wrong. So I don't know. Yeah. I know they were gonna go out of business is what I'd heard, but I don't know what's planned to be there.
There was a sign on the front, somebody else is going in. I don't
Oh, is
know.
that, very well may be. I mean, it's a good location.
Their business manager is opening a new gift shop.
Is that what it is?
But then there'll also be an office
Okay.
of some other company on the half of the building.
Paula's got the answer for you.
Hi there, you mentioned, I think you said CIRDA, C-I-R-D-A, it's a regional group. Can you talk about how important you think work like that is related to the city of Anderson? Just talk a little bit about how you see Anderson benefiting. What are the values that you see happening here that tie into the larger regional work? I'm just curious to hear a little bit more about that as it relates to Anderson in the middle of this county and region.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good question, because I think one of the questions that came up when we decided to join CIRDA in the first place, we had a discussion, a debate about that at the city council at the time, and not everybody was particularly in favor of it. It cut across political lines, so to speak. Because I think a lot of people are always worried about losing some autonomy, and having something else run, and especially we all live here, right? So we know the relationship that we have with Noblesville, Carmel, Fishers, Indianapolis, and so forth. And so you have to ask yourself, okay, we're kind of close, we are close, but yeah, we're not that close, right? I mean, are you really gonna have a walking path between here and Carmel? So what makes sense, what doesn't? My point of view was that there's a lot of money at stake, that in order to be able to try to get your hands on any of that money, you had to be willing to be part of a regional group. Early on, before CIRDA got formed, I had communications with the folks in Muncie, all the way over to Richmond, and there was some discussions about us possibly being involved there. But I felt like that the growth is coming down the so-called I-69 corridor, more likely than not to us, a lot more so than anything's gonna come from the Richmond area through Muncie to us. It's really kind of flowing that other direction. We've pretty much all seen that most of our lives. So I felt like in order to be at the table, to be able to have the conversations with those that clearly are in better financial area than we are, the Carmel area in particular, that it's our opportunity to be there and have the opportunity to interact with them and possibly come up with some programming and some infrastructure dollars particularly that can help benefit our community, because like I said, we definitely have infrastructure issues here. And the parameters of this Ready 2.0 has changed a lot since it started, and a lot of that's been driven by the state. The first money that came down, not to get too confusing, but the first money that came down on that Ready 1.0 when we received the 1.3 million award, that was all through ARPA funds, but it came from the federal government, went through the states, and then came out to the communities. but there was all the same restraints and requirements on those ARPA funds that there are on the ARPA funds that we've got with our ARPA money, which makes it very difficult to be able to do a lot of things with it you want to. So there are a lot of restrictions. So when they came up to do it the second time, the state decided that they would go ahead and fund it with $500 million, and that they would make up to $75 million available to the regions that want to form together. And so it made sense to us at the time that the region that made the most sense was that region, because we are actually in the Anderson, Carmel, so what's it called? Indianapolis, Carmel, Anderson Metropolitan Statistical Area, which is just the way they drew up the maps. But we are in that. So I think it has benefit. I think it can have benefit. We're not the only community that asks that question. I mean, there's probably 14 communities now that are in this thing. When we joined it, there was like 6. So it's grown quite a bit, almost to the extent that I question it too, because how many times can you divide up that pie? But at the same time, if there's some things that we can do to get people to see Indiana, mid-section of Indiana, as a good place to come and live, then I think Anderson can poise itself to be one of those communities that people will say, well, if I'm gonna come to that area and work or live, Anderson looks like a good place to live. Let's go hang out there. So that's what I'm thinking.
As a follow-up question, if I was curious to kind of hear how that plays out, is there a meeting here locally in Anderson that I could go get updates, or what would be a way that I as a citizen could stay connected to that work with that organization?
I would say, the survey has a website, and they have an itinerary. Last time I looked at it, they had an itinerary posted on there that posts the dates of meetings and places of meetings. Most of the meetings tend to take place different places around the state. The last one I was at was downtown Indianapolis at the convention center, but they move it around different places. But there's a board, which all the elected officials that are in the communities that are bought into the sort of thing, we go to that. But then there's subcommittees, working committees that actually, do all the heavy lifting on things and then report back to us. But they have a pretty good update of what's going on there the last time I looked.
Okay, thank you.
And if not, if you want to call, I can try to get you more information. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Was there any interest gleaned from the $23 million in the ARPA funds that could go back into those other areas that were designated within ARPA?
Technically, that could happen, but there just won't be any money left. I mean, it'll be exhausted.
So there was no interest gained over the time we received those 2 lump sums of money from the federal government?
The interest went into the general funds.
Okay. Even though there was a higher request for like the homeowners area and maybe the unhoused area, those couldn't be redirected to help
that's
if
correct.
possible.
Yeah, that's correct. The thing you have to understand about it is, it's the process. It's been very cumbersome, really. But we put together committees, which is what the folks wanted to do. So we put together committees, which had to go through all the applications and try to score them. Like I said, in some of the tranches that people applied for, there were fewer people that applied, and made it a little bit easier. Now, some people just simply weren't qualified to receive it, because again, it's ARPA funds, comes from the federal government as a result of the COVID pandemic, and it required certain restrictions, and not everybody can receive those funds. But once you're able to get them, and if you qualify for them, then we can make that happen. But the bottom line is, in some of the instances, we had way more applications than we did have funds, like you said. But the other time, we had some that didn't have as much interest, so we reopened that, and those folks got to reapply there. And so, but once we get through all that, there really shouldn't be anything left. And here's the thing, we have to have it what they call obligated by the end of this year. And obligated means that we have to have found the person, the entity, whatever it may be, who says they're gonna use it, we've agreed they're gonna use it, and then they sign a contractual relationship with us that allows us to then start to get the money to them. If we don't have that in place by the end of the year, then by law, we're required to return all the money that's left back to the federal government. And that's what we don't wanna have happen. Yes.
I know the city in the past has done a citizens academy where they work with the police department, fire department, various entities in the city to kind of educate citizens about how they do their jobs and how we can kind of integrate with that. Do you have plans in the future to do that again in the next couple of years? I know I called the police department a few months ago and they said, well, the mayor's department does that. So
Okay, you're talking about the
like the
Leadership
Citizens Academy, yeah.
So explain to me.
So like, I know Bloomington does it, there are several other neighborhoods where you have a group of citizens that kind of do 8 weeks, and each week they do a different.
Oh, Citizens Academy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think the last one we held was a year ago. We usually do them annually, once a year, but I would anticipate we would do another one this year.
Okay.
Yeah, and what it is, it's pretty simple, but it's a several week program. It's usually on a Saturday. It's usually for an hour or two each Saturday over a period of 4 or 5 weeks. And folks that are interested in learning more about how police agencies work, they come into the program, and then we teach them everything from initial police report collection of information to accident investigation, et cetera. A little bit of everything. We do a lot of show and tell, and folks find it really interesting. We have an active crime watch program here in the county, and we have several folks in our crime watch programs that go through that Citizens Academy.
What I would even suggest, if you're open to it, expanding it out to some of the other departments in the city. I know Bloomington has it expanded to City Works, Mayor's Council, School Board, so people can get more educated on the broader scope of everything you guys do, not just the police department.
Good idea. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Back to the athletic park and the plans that are being decided for it. Who is on that committee to decide, and where does input from the surrounding community get to be had?
Well, there's not a committee. So what will happen will be when the preliminary plans or the final plans get put in place that we think makes some sense that we can afford, then we will basically open it up to the public and then have public meetings where folks can come in and weigh in on what they think about it, anything that they think it should have or subtract from it. We did a similar thing with the Maze Park, and that worked out pretty well.
So before there's like a Ferris wheel as a final project, is there a place to speak into that is not in the final project?
Well, I can tell you already, unfortunately, it's probably not gonna be in the final thing because the cost of it's probably not gonna make that work, so. But when the time comes, yeah, absolutely. Whatever the portions of the project will entail will be publicly, laid out, and then anybody wants to come and talk about it can.
And there's no place before that to brainstorm with anybody or to have
Not really.
ideas? Because as a citizen and taxpayer, I would love to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any proposed housing additions that you know of right now?
Proposed, I'd say no. There's several. There's 2 or 3 folks, like I said, have shown substantial interest in doing some housing development. Some of it out south, some of it out west. But obviously, those are private folks that have to decide if they want to do that or not. And I was talking about incentivizing earlier, and that mainly has to do with we've had a couple of folks that were interested in doing some things that were pretty almost out of town, almost out of city limits, but they also wanted some financial assistance, and I just didn't feel like I want folks to come in closer, not be out on the interstate necessarily. Yes.
Sounds like you have been a very busy man, and I think you've done a wonderful job.
Well, thank you for saying that. Well, it's like I said, it's really attributable to 690 to 700 folks that work hard every day, so I just show up and try to help out. Well, hey, thank you very much for all being here, and I hope you guys have a balanced and good day. Thank you so much.